Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million.
And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding, that Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel.
What? Color me shocked that allegedly Israel was pissed that Charlie Kirk was even questioning their influence. And color me shocked that Candace and Nick, the two enemies online, are in agreement on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments just based off that intro. Now let's get in to this serious stuff that people like Laura Loomer, you know, all the Jews online, are freaking out that Candace and Nick are even questioning this. This is not true, and it's a disservice to Charlie and his wife, who is grieving and planning her husband's funeral. Also, Bill Ackman offered $1 million as a reward to whoever had information about Charlie Kirk's assassin. How much did you offer, Real Candace O? $0, right? Once again, it's illegal, apparently, to question Israel and its influence. Let's hear what they have to say.
In the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you, and he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. You know, I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, like not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, you know, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, you know, re-education camp. You know, we've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. You know, we just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to go out to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages, But my friend was shot in the neck. And I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweets because, he tweeted, "I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk this summer. He was a giant of a man." I said, "Any comment on this one, Seth?" He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, "Need a comment ASAP, please." He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, "Trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused." Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk? ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah. You see, I went out to Seth, but I also went out to two other people who were at this meeting, and nobody is willing to go on record. They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week, who were at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure, when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again, in a move that when it happened to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up, to tell us what really happened. Because, I think Charlie was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives.
Too much of that makes sense. And we're going to hear what Nick has to say about it as well. But isn't this all interesting timing? We saw a lot of clips of Charlie Kirk with Megyn Kelly, with Ben Shapiro, and just on his own show, talking and questioning some things about Israel. And now nobody wants to talk. If this is really true, within Turning Point, can you imagine what's going on? Let me know if you guys think this is even true, and if what you think in the comments, because I could see this totally being the case. Just because of the way that you receive wrath as soon as you question Israel, and the timing of Charlie's messagings, right? And then immediately now we have Marco Rubio going to Israel and doing the whole humiliation ritual where he's got to put his hand on the wall and pray, and right after Charlie Kirk's death, and Bibi Netanyahu right away after Charlie Kirk's death is like, "Oh, yeah, we didn't kill Charlie." I mean, that's a little weird to come out as a world leader and have to say, no? Is that because people are connecting too many dots in the influence they have? Doesn't mean that they killed Charlie, or had him killed. But it's interesting that they don't want to have this negative look on Israel through this Hamptons meeting, because Israel just seems like a massive PR country. Like, that's their main focus. They've done the interviews with Officer Tatum. They've done the interview with Patrick Bet-David. People that are willing to have them on and speak all positively about them. And this is totally plausible to me. Let me know what you guys think down below.
They say that Charlie Kirk was offered an infusion of $150 million by Israel. Okay? That would double Israel's budget, Turning Point USA's budget. Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million. For one purpose and one purpose only, to shill for Israel harder. Turning Point USA is already pro-Israel. They're not anti-Israel. They've never been anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk has in the past criticized Bibi Netanyahu. He has criticized secular left-wing Jewry in America. He has criticized a war with Iran, the famine in Gaza. He has never opposed Israel in itself. He has never explicitly opposed Israel. Israel offered him $150 million to be more pro-Israel than they already were, to be harder in their support for Israel, and in particular, to support regime change in Iran and to support their ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk refused the money. And I have independently confirmed that, by the way. I've heard that from 4 people. 4 people that I trust that are in the know. So this is coming from Candace Owens, a friend of Charlie Kirk. This is coming from Max Blumenthal, who purports to have a source. And I have heard from a handful of people independently of those sources that this offer was real and that Kirk turned down the money. After Charlie Kirk turned down the money, Netanyahu asked if he would come visit Jerusalem and give him the re-education tour. The Holocaust Museum, the burned babies, the beheaded babies, the one that Elon Musk took, the one that our Speaker of the House took. Anyone that's ever criticized Israel has been subjected to. He refused that as well. They offered to bribe him. They tried to re-educate him. He refused both offers.
Now, how can Nick say this with such certainty like Candace was saying it? Because politics is basically like high school. It's like whatever job you're at with a big company. The rumors, the drama, the inside information gets spread around like crazy. Just in the small amount that I had experience doing video work and going to conferences and working for some of the influencers a few years ago, it was amazing how much people knew about other people. It was amazing how much people knew about other people's dealings and situations. Which was interesting how nobody knew what was going on with Candace when she got engaged. Nobody knew that story, not even people close to Candace. But words spread like wildfire in politics, especially about serious stuff, especially, I can imagine, after someone gets assassinated who's a massive prominent figure like Charlie Kirk. So when Nick and Candace are saying, I've heard from people, it's not some rando just texting them and saying like, I heard this. It's somebody from possibly that meeting has this guilty conscience, like Candace says. They tell somebody when they're at turning point, they tell somebody through a text message, they call them, and then they tell them, and it's just too big of a story for them to hold on to. So the way that I've seen rumors and stories and information get spread around in my limited capacity working for influencers in the political space before about not that consequential of information, I can only imagine how many people must be in the know about this supremely critical information about Charlie Kirk having this meeting with Bill Ackman, who's a Jew, who's a billionaire, and Bibi Netanyahu's alleged influence and offer. I can only imagine how many people really know about this. I bet you anybody who's going to speak at that vigil that they're going to have for Charlie Kirk in Arizona on Sunday, not vigil, but a massive memorial service, I bet you every speaker at that event, if they're big time, knows about this. I bet you Trump knows about this. And how are they handling that, knowing the timing, the connections, and not being able to say it? It's going to be interesting to pay attention to who actually mentions this, because you have Nick, you have Candace. You could say that they're really not in the conservative incorporated circle anymore. You know, they're independent. They don't necessarily get invited to all the major events, especially Nick. Nick's been basically blacklisted. It'll be interesting to see who in the traditional space, who gets the opportunities to speak at events, who's on Real America Voice, who's on Fox News. Will any of those people report on this? Or is this too sensitive to touch? Because it's not like Nick and Candace are coming up with this baseless accusation out of nowhere. That I can guarantee. Now, how concrete is that evidence? We don't know. But let me know what you guys think down below. And pay attention to who is willing to even talk about this. Because if everybody in the conservative, traditional, and conservative incorporated mix, the guys that get promoted, the guys that get invited, the women that get invited, the women that get access in interviews, and the men too. If any of them don't touch this, their silence will speak volumes. It's SeanDaniel here. Thank you for taking the time, and I will see you in the next one.